I think this notion of, oh, we have to have these careers and we have to go to college and we have to do all these things and get to this place in life, I think it's kind of bullshit. You can bleep me out for that one. But, you know, because happiness looks different for different people.
Yeah.
And I think, especially, you know, I was 38, right? When I decided to make a life change, career change, and start the business, I think you just have to get to a place in your life where you have confidence to say, this is what I want to do, and I'm going to go for it.
Welcome to the Impact Roadmap, a podcast designed to give you the practical, concrete steps to grow your nonprofit or future-forward business in a sustainable way. I'm your host, Joey Goon. Let's get into the episode. Tell us a little bit about you and like who you are, why you're here, and then let's get into your business.
Well, my name?
Yeah.
My name?
Yeah. We could go as simple as
don't
first
know.
and last
I don't
name,
know.
like a little bit of background
Okay.
on your journey.
Tamara Keefe, right? Youngest of 5, 4 older brothers. I don't know. Who am I? That's a funny question. I used to be a great spouse when I had one. I'm a great sister. I'm a great friend. I'm the flavor Temptress for Clementine's Naughty and Nice Creamery here in St. Louis.
It's an amazing place, by the way.
Thank you.
Gone there. I've been a customer for many years before I even knew you.
Thank you. Yeah, you know, I come from a large Irish-Italian family, and I come from very humble beginnings. And we didn't really have anything growing up. And so when I finally got older and educated and moved out and got into my corporate life, I had very lofty goals and dreams, and I accomplished all of them. And I would venture, you know, I'm the only person in my family to ever go to college and become successful, as I guess what most people would deem as that. And after 25 years in corporate America and climbing to the top and getting to every place I thought I'd ever wanted to be, and I made more money than I ever thought I could. I made more money in a year than my dad did in 10.
Damn.
And I was the most unhappy person I knew. In 2012, I think I traveled 262 days a year. I was in every country. I had like this super fabulous job, you know, that my dream job. And I was just so miserable. I was so unhappy. And one day I was with a bunch of girlfriends at Lake of the Ozarks drinking coffee. And I just opened the kimono and started crying. And I was like, oh my God, I'm 38 years old. I have no husband. I have no family. I have no kids. I never see my friends. I never see my extended family. I live in this big house and I drive a fancy car and I have a fat bank account. And I'm miserable. And oh, by the way, TMI, but I hadn't had sex in 6 months. And I was hot then. Like, you know, and I was like, what am I doing? Like, this isn't living. Like, I have everything that everyone would expect someone to want and to have. And I was just miserable.
What was missing? Fulfillment or
purpose?
Purpose?
You know, I did marketing strategy and brand for over 20 years. And
that was for Abbott or DuPont?
Yeah, like you name the list. It goes on. I was in technology. You know, I was in the early 90s, and I had a pretty awesome career. And I think I was always really good at what I did. Right, whatever I touched turned to gold. Like I was really smart. I was really successful. And I just didn't have that meaning or that purpose. I needed something more. I wanted a real relationship that was in the city that I lived. You know, I missed coming home. I was that token female that always said yes, that they like, you know, surrounded, and I went up the corporate ladder and I was given every opportunity, right? So like I was that yes woman. And that was a choice. I made choices to do that. I made choices not to have a family. I just made choices younger in my life that kind of caught up to me. And I said, wow, this really isn't what it's cracked up to be. So that fateful morning at Lake of the Ozarks with my girlfriends, I was breaking down and I'm so miserable. And one of my girlfriends turns to me and she goes, quit. What do you mean quit? quit. I said, you don't quit corporate America. Not where I was, right? I mean, I don't know that many people that made over $500,000 a year and traveled all over, I like, that was
it. That was
That's it,
like
right?
the American dream.
Yeah,
as
yeah.
much of America would sort of.
And especially because I came from such humble beginnings where we had nothing.
Yeah.
And I come from a place of food insecurity and housing insecurity, like we were really, really poor. And so I worked my whole life to get to a place where I had financial security. And I thought, well, if I can just get there and not be worried about having a roof over my head, and not be worried about having enough food. It's funny that those things stay with you throughout your whole life, even though logically, okay, I'm not going to be homeless and I'm not going to be hungry. Those things stay with you. I mean, to this day, the first thought when I wake up in the morning is, I can't be homeless and I can't be hungry.
Isn't that amazing? I've heard from like so many different people that, entrepreneurs, coaches, mentors, authors, mentors of mine, people that have coached and trained me. They're like, you get to a point that, by the way, similar to your story, I have a very similar story, which I won't go into because, I don't want to take up time and go into that particular story, but similar situation in my life. I invested all of the money in my retirement plan and money that I had saved up in a life coach. I went to personal development retreats. I invested in the coaching program. And at the time, they were telling me, these were multi-millionaire, billionaire entrepreneurs that had started Fortune 100 companies. They're like, I'm telling you right now, like this was from a billionaire, said, I'm more concerned today than I was when I was broke, because now my concerns are just different about, oh my God, now I've seen it. What happens if I lose it all? And so now there's that whole like scarcity mindset of, wow, I've built it, have the empire. Now I've got to protect it and nurture it and make sure I don't lose it and leave a legacy. So like, I think that's what you're speaking of. It's like, and you've seen both extremes. Mm-hmm. Which one? And for me at the time, it was like, it's easy for you to say, you have $1 billion company and right? And here I am, a broke kid that just graduated college with not 2 nickels to rub together because I just left my 6-figure corporate career and invested all my money in personal development and started this, or, took over.
Sure.
And I was like, easy for you to say, right? What are your thoughts on, like, you've now built this company, you're in a point in your life where you're making great money, you're providing for your employees, you're involved in the community. What's the answer?
Oh, I don't know if there is an answer. Well, I think for a few years, I had to really train myself to get out of that scarcity mindset, right? Because when you're in that scarcity mindset, you're also super risk averse, because what you've got and you don't want to let it go.
Yeah.
And so in order to push myself as an entrepreneur and as a leader to scale and grow, you have to be willing to take on risk. And that flies directly in the face of that scarcity mindset. So I worked many years on that, I think. But I guess I've looked at it as, I was there once, right?
So there is no fear of.
There is no fail. There is no plan B. There is no second option. Like, we're in it to win it, and everything we do, like, I guess I've bought into the notion of almost like manifestation. And I really do believe that in the laws of attraction, and
The Secret.
I'm a huge believer in The Secret. You live as if it is, and it will be.
Yeah.
And so I've done that with my whole career. I've done that with my whole business. I just know that it's going to work, and I live and believe as it is. And I operate from like my authentic self. And I think that's part of the magic, is people get that. They see that, they understand that.
Do you think that because you've also seen the, like, you've come from below the poverty line and you've been in that extreme, that you don't fear failure? It sounds like that's kind of what you're saying. Like, you don't have an aversion to risk because you know that it's like you've seen both extremes and you're not afraid.
Yeah, I'm not, what's the worst thing that can happen, right? I move home and live in my parents' basement. or I move in with my friends, you know, in their guest house, whatever, right? Yeah. That's the worst thing that can happen. Okay. Well, I got a really good education that I gave myself and that I worked my ass off for. So I'll always be able to go get another job, maybe not at the same level, and maybe I won't make the same amount of money. But I think once I got my education, because education is the only thing no one can take away from you. Everything else in this world can be taken away from you except your education. Once I had my education, I think my mindset flipped, that I knew no matter what, I was going to be okay. And also because I come from humble beginnings and I've done like every job I've worked, waitress, like there's no job that I'm afraid of or above, like even in my own business, right? Like there's nothing in my company I haven't done. I can wash buckets. I can make ice. Like I cleaned, you know, in the summers we have we're the first job for many young people. And they come in, and a lot of these young people have never cleaned a toilet before, and
that's where my head went.
And they're just grossed out. They're like, "You want me to clean a toilet?" And so I'll get a text from a manager saying, "I got a group of kids here that think they're too good to wash toilets or clean the toilet." And I said, "Okay, I'll be there in an hour." So then I show up and say, "Okay, time to clean toilets," and they're like, their eyes get big, and they're like, "You're gonna?" I'm like, "Of course I am. I'm gonna show you how to do it, and then you can do it." So their eyes get really wide and they're like, oh crap, like if she can wash the toilets, then I guess we have to learn how to clean the toilets. So, you know, I've always just taken it from that approach, as well as like, I can always find a job. I'm not above doing anything.
Yeah.
Right. To survive or take care of my family.
Such a meaningful approach to take. I'm with you too. We hired a cleaning company that comes in now twice a month to clean our office. But before that, it was me. Like I was sweeping the floors and cleaning the toilet and keeping the office. Cause like it's you know, for me, I agree with you. It's like, there's no job that's beneath me, but it's also, I think if people see the owners willing to do that,
right,
like they're also willing to put in the
extra grit.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Digress. I don't know. What did you ask me?
I don't know. We were talking about so many things.
I know. Just bouncing around.
That fateful day. What was the catalyst for, like, what was that spark in your mind when you're talking with your girlfriends in the Ozarks for you to say, you know what? Like, you made the decision, but what was the catalyst, the spark?
My girlfriend.
That encouraged that decision?
It was my girlfriend. Literally, you know, your close friends know you sometimes better than you know yourself.
Yeah.
So when we were having that conversation that morning, and she was like, quit. And I'm like, you don't quit corporate America. What are you talking about? And at this point, I'm like the ugly cry, right? Snot down the face. And I'm like, well, what would I do? And my other girlfriend laughs and she goes, you know, you're always bitching St. Louis doesn't have good ice cream. You're always complaining our neighborhood doesn't have an ice cream shop. And by the way, your ice cream, you make ice cream better than anybody I know. And you love doing it more than anything. And I was like, she's right. She's like, why don't you open an ice cream shop? And like this light bulb, this epiphany kind of went off in that morning of like, wow, okay. What's the worst thing that could happen? I fail. Okay. Pick your feet up. Over. You know, it's not about how you fail. It's how you pick yourself up and move on to the next thing. And so that weekend we wrote my business plan, put together my financials and my PowerPoint deck, and I resigned 2 weeks later.
You mentioned there was an article that you sent me online that there is a $2 ice cream machine that your mom bought at a garage sale. Do you still have that ice cream machine?
I wish I did.
Yeah.
I wish I did. That would be worth $1 billion to me right now. But yeah, I have incredible memories.
And so all of that passion really stems from community and family and just being in the kitchen together.
Yeah. And ice cream changes lives, man. Right? It just builds memories. It builds community. Changed my life when I was a kid. Changed my life as an adult, right? Starting Clementines. Like ice cream is this really powerful, it's the most emotional food product or food item or most emotional food that there is, right? When everyone thinks back to their first memory of ice cream, right? It's with their grandparents, it's with their family, it's with friends, whatever it is, like it's so, people have so much emotion tied into that and the memories. Ice cream is just this beautiful thing. And, you know, it's funny. I often think about this. You know, we live in this world where we're so connected. We have our iPhones and our iPads and computers and laptops and you name it, right? We're in this connected like world. Yet the thing that we all long for the most is to be connected to each other, right? And when you hold an ice cream cone, you're not holding a phone, right? And when you're eating ice cream, you're connected, right? You can't be doing a million other things, right? And so ice cream is super beautiful that way, that it really does bring people together and create memories. And, you know, it's beautiful.
There's so many thoughts swirling around in my head based on what you just shared. And that was a really profound share, I think, for us too, and me selfishly, because like as an event production company, we talk to event organizers all the time about this. And events, if you just go in and do sort of a formulated conference or fundraising event and it's program heavy and you have a person on the stage and there's some videos and people laugh, they cry, they dance, they go home, you're missing an opportunity, because what people are longing for is not another person on stage telling them about how great your organization is. They're longing for turning to their neighbor and connecting to the person next to them. And if you miss that, you miss everything. And if you don't create community, then this group of individuals won't go on to do the incredible things that they need to do as a community. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, that can be said for ice cream, that could be said for events, that can be said for so many different things. We're longing for the same things. It's just a different flavor of how we get those things. See how I threw the flavor in there?
No pun intended there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good.
But it's interesting how there's so much overlap in our industry. And so we're all longing for the same things. We're so connected, and actually that makes us so disconnected, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I think that's why ice cream for me, it matters. I say all the time, it's not just ice cream, it's purpose.
What's your most, I want to go here for a second, because we're sort of in this, you know, like reflecting on moments and,
sure,
and what ice cream means to us. What's your most pronounced or profound memory or moment in time that you can remember from your past when you shared ice cream with a loved one? Like, is there a memory that comes to mind for you, or your first ice cream that you ever had?
I think my first memory of ice cream was with my grandmother. And we were sitting on the shag carpet, because everybody had shag carpet then. I just remember, like, texturally, like I was sitting on the carpet and my grandmother was sitting on the carpet with me. She was wearing like this brown pantsuit that grandmas used to wear, like in the 70s and 80s. And we were eating ice cream cones on the floor and we were laughing so hard we were snorting, right? Eating ice cream. And it was like so much fun, and it was like pure love and pure joy, and just like her and I together, like nothing else mattered in the world. It was just us together and just showing love and having fun with each other. And she was the silly grandma, right? She wasn't like a grandmother. She was like a silly grandma who just like loved me more than anything. And I was really, really little. That's my first real memory of ice cream. But I have so many wonderful memories, like making ice cream with my family and my mom as a kid, right? With that, I was so excited that day that she brought home that $2 hand crank and boom, like ice cream machine. That was just, I was so excited. And I have like amazing, you know, my mom died when I was 21. And so she had always been the one to kind of be in charge of the ice cream making in our house on Sundays and as a family. And then when she passed away, it was just bestowed to me, probably because I was the only other girl and my brothers, yeah, they didn't really care that much. Not like I cared. And so, yeah, I just have incredibly beautiful memories of making ice cream with my mom. And, you know, we were poor. We didn't have any money. She was the first one to make like crazy ice cream flavors. She'd go into the fridge And she, I remember, God, I was so small. She made a tomato and feta cheese ice cream. Back in the
savory? Okay.
Yeah, like savory and sweet, but it's because that's all we had left in the fridge. Like she just like, what do we have in there that could be fun and interesting? And like my mom was making crazy flavors way before it was ever a thing.
Mom's a food scientist?
She was, and she didn't even know it.
That's amazing.
Right? So yeah, I have a million like amazing memories around ice cream. And and it's hard to say now because of what I do with Clementines. I get I get new memories and amazing experiences all the time.
From that one first memory, that first scoop to now millions of scoops served.
Literally.
How cool is that?
That's pretty amazing.
Like,
and it's funny thinking about, when you start a business, it's very myopic. It's about like, okay, this is my business and what do I want to build and what do I want to create and what's my vision and how do I want to design the store and what are the flavors that I want to do? And then I think as we've grown, it's not about me anymore and my vision, right? It's about the team and our employees and the city and what we're doing, right? It's so interesting how it just evolves and changes into something bigger than us, right? Which is wonderful. It's a huge responsibility, right? Because I got to make sure that I'm good, right? Because I'm leading this crazy group. I started in my kitchen with me 8 years ago, and now I have 158 families that rely on me to make good decisions about our strategy and how we're going to grow and what we're going to do and what does our culture look like and how do we, want to structure benefits and right. It evolves and changes to where it just grows into something so much bigger, right? Yes, we're Clementines, but like we're also St. Louis, right? I'm proud that I've been able to put St. Louis on the map nationally in the culinary world in my little slice of pint of ice cream, right? That's me. That's us. We did that. And so we have a larger role to play in St. Louis. We have a larger role to play in the communities that we live in as business owners, right? We have to put our money where our mouth is and invest in our city and invest in the talent and invest in people. Like it's different. Your strategies change. What drives you changes.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
I love that. Giving up self in service of others is something that I just sort of processed by what you said in my mind. Like giving up self in service of others, and the business continues to evolve. And so your priorities continue to evolve. The questions you ask continue to evolve, and how you extract meaning evolves as well, based on now you've got 158 families you're providing for, that's awesome. So can we come back to that? I would love, before we talk about like your impact and community and the families you're providing for, can you take us through kind of like the origin story? So you're at the lake, you have this conversation, you're like, you put your 2 weeks in, boom, like what happens next? How do you go from one store to where you are now? You have 5, 6, seven as of last week, and we'll have 8 as of next week. Okay, the Forbes article lied. Well, the Forbes article is also from a while ago. Yeah, so you've opened 2019. Beep that out so that Forbes doesn't come after me. Yeah. But that was a couple years ago. So you had 5. You're now at 7 stores. Mm-hmm. So can you walk us through the journey of that first store up to now? Yeah, my first shop had to be in Lafayette Square because that was my neighborhood. So I wanted that, like, it couldn't be anywhere else in St. Louis. It had to be in my neighborhood first. Yeah. And, that first shop is on the worst corner and at the time it was under construction. There was no parking. It was like the worst corner in this nice neighborhood sort of thing. But it was only 500 square feet, and everyone thought I was nuts. And my boyfriend at the time said, I love you, but no one's ever going to come here. You're never going to sell more than $300 a day out of this store. Because it was such a terrible location. It really is. Now I say it's a hidden gem. But in the beginning, people were like, where is it? Like you had to park and walk. At the time with the construction, you had to walk 3 blocks
to get to my store, and they tore up the street for like 6 months. It was like,
It was probably cheap real estate.
It was the only real estate I could afford in my neighborhood. I couldn't afford anything on Park. And everything in that store, like I did and we did, like I laid the floors and I put up the tile and I brought in the electrician so I didn't burn the place down. But, like we like actually created that store and hung up the light. We did a lot of that stuff. And it was awesome and it was exciting. And I really believed if you build it, they will come. And, I did put together a great strategy and marketing plan, and I got our name out there before we opened. So people were talking about us. I got our ice cream into restaurants around town. So people were seeing my name and calling and like, hey, where do I get this? So I had built successfully a lot of buzz around the business. And then when we opened, it was just unbelievable. We had 6 and 7 hour lines that would never end in the summer. We still do. But in the beginning I was like, oh my gosh, these lines are crazy. They're just never stopping. And people were wrapped around 2 blocks in line. It was insane. And I just remember thinking, I've got to get another shop open to alleviate these lines, right? Because I was afraid of losing business. And it took me a couple years to get my second shop, right? And then I was silly. I GC'd that shop too, right? Thankfully, I didn't do all the work in that shop, but I managed a lot, which you do when you start out and you can't afford to hire people for stuff. And so I got the Demund shop opened, and I'm thinking, oh, finally the lines are going to go down at Lafayette. Nope. Same thing. 6, 7 hour lines that never stopped in the summer. And I think it was after the Demund shop and that people were, I think we make ice cream so different than everybody else, from quality of ingredients, flavors, butterfat, like you name it. The product is so different. It's kind of like how the ice cream was made 50, 75, 100 years ago. And people loved it so much that it just became this thing. And, introducing the naughty ice cream. And, I was
so clever, by the way.
Thank you.
That was a customer, right? Who was like, hey, you should do this. And then they just continued to pursue you until you caved in.
Yeah. And then, we were the first ice cream shop in the country to go national with boozy ice cream. We have a trade secret process for that. But also, no one in the country did vegan non-dairy ice cream back in 2014. We were the first ones to do that. And so we kind of developed this massive cult following that if you were in the Midwest, you'd drive 2-3 hours to get our vegan ice creams, because now ice cream was now democratic. It was for everyone, right? So people who couldn't have dairy now could enjoy ice cream and participate because there was an option for them. So, it was just like this thing. And I was like, wow, I think I really have something here. And, that's what I did for my whole, I did brand strategy, marketing. That's what I did my whole career. And I happened to be in the food industry. So I worked in ingredients and I understood food safety. And I'd been in so many food manufacturing plants and facilities, and I got food science and I understood sensory. And so I had all of this amazing, and I ran a $70 million business, and I knew what a P&L was, and I understood cash flow management. So it was like this perfect storm of
all those different puzzle pieces.
All the puzzle pieces from my career, my love of ice cream, being in the food industry, and knowing enough to be dangerous on how to build something, make something, manufacture it, and scale it safely. And so from there, it just it's kind of like the fly. It just starts happening. And I always say the ice cream gods are smiling down upon us, because it just, as one door would open and then another door would open and another door would open and another opportunity would open. And it's always been like that with us. And, part of that's karma, I believe, right? When you do right in the world does right by you. And it's just, we've just had this incredible journey. And I think being in all of the neighborhood, we're a neighborhood brand, right? We're in so many wonderful neighborhoods and communities. I think that resonates with people, right? Everyone wants their local ice cream shop in their neighborhood, right? And consumers today, they want a better product. They want something that's all natural. They want something that's made by people, right? right? They don't want all the artificial crap in it anymore, right? You know, we're moving into an era of makers.
Yeah.
Right? And the younger generations, people want something different. They don't want the big box everything. They don't want big generic brands, right? They don't want low quality ice cream. Right? If you're going to eat it, make it wonderful.
I would love to talk about transparency in consumer goods for a moment, if you're cool with that.
Yeah.
So it's like people are becoming more mindful of things that they put in and on their bodies. So my wife, Stephanie, and I, we take this a little bit to the extreme. Like we make our own soaps. We make our own spray, like cleaner in the house where we use vinegar and orange and lemon and lavender oils. And same with our dish soap and our laundry detergent, because we don't know what dipropylene methylchloromorphosate is.
Right.
And we don't want to put that on our clothes and in our body. Right. So like, so I think as a humanity, as a species, we're becoming more hyper aware of this. And it's like ice cream is no different in that there are, like, for instance, sugar. Before you came in the studio, I looked up sugar and I was like, how many different names are there for sugar? And I just pulled up like sugar, caramel, maltose, dextrose, fructose, caramel maltose, evaporated cane syrup, barley malt, crystalline, etc. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. So there's so many ways of like hiding products or hiding ingredients in products in hopes that you sort of gloss past it and buy it because you don't really know what that thing is. Why is this so important, like consumer transparency, and how are you different from some of these other manufacturing companies?
Well,
or not manufacturing, consumer product companies.
Sure, CPG, yeah. Because I'd worked in the food industry, I know what they use and how they use it and why they use it, right? I know that in ice cream that they whip so much air into it to fill more containers to use less product. I know all of the artificial ingredients and preservatives that they want something to have a 5-year frozen shelf life, right? So I think coming from the industry where I know the tips and tricks and all the crap that they use to make food taste better, last longer, be cheaper, that when I decided to start Clementines, I was not going to do that. Like if I'm going to start a company and do it, I'm going to do it my way and I'm going to do it the right way. And I'm going to have transparency and I'm going to make the best tasting, most decadent product. It can be done. It's just expensive to make it that way. And a lot of companies, they don't want to do that, right? They're all about margins and crazy supply chain costs and everything. And just for me, like that was, if I was going to make a product and if I was going to make ice cream, I was going to make the best damn ice cream in the country. And I believe I do, because I don't skimp. I don't use artificial anything, right? No artificial fillers, flavors, emulsifiers. Like we don't use that in our product. One, because I don't want to, and I don't like it. And it doesn't taste good, right? Like ice cream is very fundamental. You know, you need milk, cream, sugar, non-fat, like there's like certain ingredients that you need that you can make great ice cream with.
Yeah.
And if you make great ice cream, you don't need it to sit in a freezer for a year because people are going to eat it.
It's so true. Okay. So you have beef. So like my wife and I, when we go to the store, we buy Haagen-Dazs. Now I know you won't buy their product anymore because a couple years ago they renamed their pint, not as a 16 ounce, but a 14 ounce. But
they screw all of those big CPG companies have screwed
the consumer
all
over.
The consumers, and consumers didn't even notice.
But they only use 5 ingredients. So it's cream, milk, sugar, eggs, vanilla.
I cannot speak to that specific brand. What I can speak to is that a lot of things that are a derivative of other things can be called something else.
Right.
So no one makes a product with 5 ingredients. And anything that there is less than, if there is less than 2% of something, you are not required to call it out on the label. So if you read FDA regulations, they have different limits set for different kinds of things. And if it's less than that, you don't even have to put it on your label.
Interesting. Are there certain ingredients that you think that we should be avoiding that could be in our consumer goods, the things that we're eating?
Anything with artificial colors and dye, and like a lot of the art, there are some natural preservatives that are fine to use. Yes, they're still preservatives, but there's no standard of identity for natural, which is unfortunate, right? I wish they would do that, because I think that would make things a lot more clear for the consumer.
Yeah.
But I tend to stay away from all those nasty artificial preservatives, colors, fillers, emulsifiers,
Like propylene glycol?
Yeah, anything with an ioxide at the end, you don't want to put it in your body, right? If you can't pronounce it or you don't know what it is, you shouldn't be eating it.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
In my opinion, right?
I totally agree.
I'm not saying that they're not safe, right? Because they're generally right. When you put something in a food product, it's typically GRAS certified, which is generally recognized as safe by the SBA. They call it GRAS. Like, there's lots of things that are safe,
but there's not enough research there to really know how safe is that thing over a long period of time.
Why would you
even risk it?
Why would you do that?
Yeah.
Right. So we really try our best not to use anything like that, even if we have to pay a premium for something. Even our vegan sugar for our vegan ice cream, little known fact. So I found out about this a couple of years ago, that all sugar, most, not all, a lot of sugars out there are filtered through bone char, which helps make the sugar white. So it can be organic sugar and still be filtered through bone char.
What is bone char?
Animal bones.
Oh, okay.
Bone char to make it white. So therefore, I would not use traditional sugar in vegan ice cream because it goes through a bone char. So once I found out that most sugars go through bone char, I, in good conscience, could not use that sugar anymore.
What's the sugar that you use?
So we use specific vegan sugar, and there is a handful of plants. There's one C&H plant in Yonkers that does not use bone char in their sugar. And so I pay 5 times as much for my vegan sugar as I do for my regular sugar, because I know that it's vegan.
Unwavering commitment to integrity.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Absolutely.
Really awesome. And it's becoming...
And I didn't know, right? Like, I had no idea. I was like, are you kidding? And I started doing all this research. Someone sent me an article and I'm like, no flipping way. And I was like, okay, well, I guess we can't use that brand of sugar anymore for our vegan ice cream, because that wouldn't be cool. Not when I've made such a commitment to that community.
Yeah. I love that. I put, I wrote, I was just taking notes on things that,
sure.
And Lachlan did an amazing job. Thank you, by the way, for the research you put into Tamara and her background. But I had to spell out here something that I thought was really important, and thought, of course, organically that's going to come up in our conversations. And it's that you put integrity, quality, and heart before profit. And
to my own disadvantage at many times.
Hey, but and that's not to say that profit is not important. Like, as businesses, we need to make profit,
have to make
because
money.
You've got to be able to provide for those 158 families. But you're doing it with heart, and unfortunately that's becoming more sparse in the for-profit world. And what we're seeing is a rise of nonprofits, in different certifications. Now you've got B corporations that are coming out because people are like, you know what, if this doesn't exist in the marketplace, to hell with it, I'm going to go out there and create it. Like you said, we're in this space of innovators and marketers and pioneers and believers and dreamers and doers, do-gooders, who, if they're not going to buy a product that's inferior if it has ingredients they can't pronounce, because we want longevity. We want to have more moments and memories with our families. And we know that if putting a certain product in our body is going to pull from that opportunity, we're just going to go out there and create something that's going to create a better life for people and for humanity. I think that's awesome that you all are in that space where you're not willing to compromise the integrity of what you stand for the profit of your company.
No, because if you make a great product, the profit will come later. The profit will come because someone will come in not once a year and not once a summer. They'll come in once a month or once a week.
Hell yeah.
Right?
It's so cool.
So I believe in our mission. I believe in that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you mentioned a little while ago, community. How are you and the team at Clementine's? I mean, you're giving back to the community in so many different ways by providing them a product that creates moments, like their family can have those memories together of going and sharing an ice cream cone or a cup. Beyond that, what else are you doing? Like, what else does community mean to you, and how do you give back to the community through Clementine's?
Oh boy, I think we do a lot. I think we're pretty intentional about being part of the community. I think we're very intentional about having our workforce look like our customer base, right? That's important. I think I'm a really big supporter of the LGBTQ community, and Clementine's is known as a safe place, for those people who are in transition. And so I think as a business owner, we have the opportunity to, like I said, put our money where our mouth is and be part of the community, be part of the communities that we believe in, that we serve.
That's beautiful.
Right? And I think Clementine's is one of the most diverse businesses in St. Louis. When you look at our employees and when you look at our customers, like we serve everyone, right? Ice cream is for everyone. It's not a fancy restaurant that is so cost prohibitive that only certain people can eat there, right? You know, good times or bad times, right? When the economy's tough, you may not be able to take your family out for dinner and a movie, but you can cook dinner at home and you can go out for ice cream.
It's non-discretionary.
Yeah.
It's not discretionary spending where you have to eliminate it. It's like you're buying ice cream whether times are good or bad.
Whether good or bad. And when times are bad, you're probably going to buy ice cream a little more because it's that little bit of joy that you're going to be able to take you and your kids out for. Or, you know, when things get better, then you go out for ice cream more. You're right. Ice cream is this, I don't want to say it's a blind purchase, but it's this affordable luxury and moments of connection for people that I think is like super, super important that people need. I mean, gosh, when I think back to the pandemic, right? It was tough. It was so tough on us. You know, we had almost no occupancy all year, but we thrived. Like we were the only ice cream company to stay open the entire year. We didn't close one day during the pandemic.
Wow. When
everyone else did, because I didn't have a choice. My workforce, you know, a lot of those folks, my production people, they don't have savings accounts, right? The government didn't start handing out money till months and months later. Like, what were my people going to, what were my team, what were they going to do? How are they going to pay their rent? How are they going to buy groceries? How are they going to put shoes on their kids' feet? Like, so, like, I didn't have a choice, right? We stayed open and we hustled and we pivoted and we figured it out, right? And look, and in the pandemic, everybody needed ice cream, right? Through all the fear and uncertainty and sadness and loneliness. Sometimes that was the only time people got out of their house once a week, was in their car to come up curbside to get ice cream. And we were able to connect with people, single people who were by themselves. Like, it was amazing. Or people would come to take, like, yeah, it was amazing. It was a hard choice to stay open, and we left it up to the team if they wanted to stay open, and they did. But thank goodness we did, because people needed us, right? Like, we were an essential business, but like people really needed ice cream, and they needed that connection. Sometimes even if it was just with us. Sorry, I digress.
No, that was good. That was good. I very much appreciate that. What advice would you give to other small business owners? I mean, we talked about this a little bit too before we hit record.
Oh gosh, I don't remember what we were saying.
Kind of like let go of the process and enjoy the journey.
Yeah, you know what, you got to do it. You know what they say, if you love what you do, you never work another day in your life. Right? So, you know, I started Clementine's. I just thought I was going to be a little ice cream shop in Lafayette Square, right? And I was going to get married and have a kid and raise my little girl in the ice cream shop. Like I had no idea. Like, I had such a different romantic notion of what Clementine's was going to be versus what it has evolved and grown into. But if you love what you do, you just roll with it, right? I didn't have any expectation of making a lot of money. Like I didn't go into Clementine saying, I'm going to build this empire and I'm going to make all this money. I said, I want to go have purpose and be happy every day. And whatever that outcome looks like, I'm okay with that. I think this notion of, oh, we have to have these careers and we have to go to college and we have to do all these things and get to this place in life, I think it's kind of bullshit. You can bleep me out for that one. But, you know, because happiness looks different for different people.
Yeah.
And I think, especially, you know, I was 38, right? When I decided to make a life change, career change, and start the business, I think you just have to get to a place in your life where you have confidence to say, this is what I want to do and I'm going to go for it. And you're willing to take the risk and you just do it.
Yeah. At what point do you reach that mountaintop? Because like, I know we talked about that there is no proverbial mountaintop. Matter of fact, Jim Carrey talks about this after he won an Emmy and an Oscar. And he says, oh my gosh, I was never more lonely because I was seeking something that was outside of me, and as opposed to seeking what was inside of me. And sometimes the most beautiful views come from the hardest climbs, but it's not the climb that's outside, it's what's inside. So for you, like, what is that precipice or that peak where you're like, you know what? I've done it. I don't need to do anymore. Like, what is that for you?
You know, I don't know that I have a peak or a I don't know that I'm looking for something. I think I just live my life from a place of gratitude every day, right? I'm so lucky to do what I can do, right? I'm so lucky to be part of the community. I'm so lucky to have that we provide jobs for these. I'm so happy and lucky and grateful to do what I do every day, and that St. Louis lets us do it and that we keep growing. So I don't know, I've won all the big ice cream awards in the country, right? Every year we continue to win. We just last week found out we won the #1 vegan ice cream in America again, one of the awards. And it's awesome and it's amazing. You know, I don't know that I have if I just get here.
Yeah.
I think I let that go when I left my corporate life, because there was finite growth points that if I just get to this title, if I just make to this much money, if I just get to here, I don't think about Clementines that way. I think.
So it's a lifelong journey for you.
Yeah,
and you get to play the video game, whether or not you beat the boss or not. It's like, beating the boss in the video game doesn't matter to you. That's like winning and getting on to the next level. It's more about the journey. It's
the journey and it's freedom and time, right? I think will have made it when I get more free time in my life and I get to travel more and get to spend time with the people that I love, right? The bigger we get, the more fun I'm having, because I can now hire people to do all the things that I'm not good at or that I don't want to do.
That's how I feel.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? And so it actually gets way more fun. And I feel like I'm actually able to do a better job with my superpowers because I'm not stuck in the weeds doing all the stuff that I'm not supposed to be doing. That in the beginning you have to do, right? You just have to do it. But now I don't have to do it anymore. So it gets more fun.
Yeah. Great answer. Is there a charity that you support? Like if someone's listening right now, they really love your store. Is there a charity that's really close to your heart that's like, hey, if you have the discretionary money out there and you want to support a particular cause, go put a couple $1 million in this particular charity or this cause that means something to you?
I support a lot of endeavors, and I'm not one to tout we give to this and I'm the anonymous donor, right, that gives because I don't really want that thanks. But I think I do a lot to support young girls in St. Louis, right? I think that the Miriam School is amazing. I think Doorways does amazing stuff for the LGBTQ and the HIV community in St. Louis. I'm always for the underdog, right? So not that the big charitable organizations out there don't do good, but I want to give to all the organizations that are small, that have tight budgets, that people don't give to a lot.
Yeah.
So, whether that's MTUG or Doorways or the Miriam School, right?
Doorways. I've heard of that. Excuse me.
Yeah, or Rung for Women. That place is amazing, right? The way that they're elevating women and providing them resources and mental wellness and health and wellness and all kinds of and job training skills to lift them up, out. You know, I don't know. I think I think as a little girl growing up, I guess now I say, to be one, you got to see one. I never saw one, right? I thought women were just teachers and nurses. I didn't know you could own a company. I didn't know you could be a scientist. I didn't know you could be a CEO. And so I really like to get out there and talk and support different organizations that empower young girls to discover what they can be and what they want to be.
And you just became, you were accepted into the James Beard program for women in business last year, right?
In the culinary world, yeah, the fellowship.
Which is huge.
Yeah, I mean, it's the #1 culinary association or recognition in the country, for sure.
It's really awesome.
Yeah.
So what's your message out there to young women who are striving or aspiring to be entrepreneurs? Just look right into that camera and tell them what you want to tell them.
I don't want to cuss. I was going to say, just fucking do it. But yeah, bleep that.
No. We're keeping that for sure. Do you hear that? For all of our young, aspiring entrepreneurs.
Whose moms are going to hate
there.
them listening to this?
No, but just do it. Where can someone read, like if there's a young woman that wants to like follow you and like follow your journey, where should they go? Are you on like Instagram or LinkedIn, TikTok?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. Clementine's is on Instagram. I don't really have a personal page because Clementine's is my life and everything I feel like is out there anyway. But yeah, you can follow us at Clementine's Creamery on Instagram or Facebook.
That's awesome. And you said you have a national footprint now. You've established relationships with grocery stores and distribution centers, so we can get you now at local grocery stores?
No, you cannot. Actually, strategically, I do not want to be in grocery stores. So my growth plan is to not go into grocery stores at this point.
Okay.
It's a high volume, low margin business that is incredibly taxing on everybody who plays in that channel. And I don't want to do it. I care about my people too much.
What about for customers outside of St. Louis? Can they get your product delivered?
They can order it online and we ship it all over the country.
That's awesome.
And eventually we'll be in your city, right?
Yeah.
I do have lofty growth plans for Clementine's. You know, we're going into our second market next week into Illinois, and we'll go into a couple of other additional markets in 24 and 25. But ultimately the goal is to take Clementine's national. So hopefully we'll be in your city, at least in the Midwest.
Cheers my caffeine to your success and
you.
Continued growth. It's been an honor having you here today. My last question for you before we go into the rapid fire, which is just a series of questions, personal fun questions to get to know you. Last question is like, any new flavors on the horizon, or maybe your best selling flavor right now?
Always gooey butter cake.
That's a top.
It's always our #1 seller. We made it famous too.
I'm going to Lake St. Louis tonight. I'm going to get some gooey butter cake.
Okay, cool. Yeah, there are some. So we are going to be doing this fall a collaboration with the badass women from Golden Gems. And I'm really excited for those flavors. So check those out.
Nice.
It'll be a really, really cool collab.
The badass women from Golden Gems.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Are you familiar with the girls?
No.
You got to check them out. They're amazing.
What is it? What are
Golden
the badass
Gems
women?
is a concept created by two sisters that are all focused around female empowerment. So they're masterful retail merchandisers. They create amazing merchandise, and it's all about empowering women. And they're absolutely amazing. I adore them.
Could there just be like words in the ice cream, like a little dash of love, a little bit of sweetness, a little compassion, a little self-empathy in there?
That's right.
A dash of this.
A little bit of this, a little bit. Oh, the names will be really fun.
Oh,
and
that's
the merch
awesome.
will be really cool when it comes out.
Oh, looking forward to that.
I'm excited
That's
for
cool.
it. Yeah.
All right, rapid fire.
Okay.
Favorite book, movie, or podcast? And your podcast is obviously this podcast.
Of course.
But
Of course.
besides this one, what would you say your
Favorite movie, book,
or
or
podcast?
podcast?
You can just pick one.
Somewhere in Time.
Is that a movie?
Yes, before your time.
Okay.
It was
Somewhere in
with
Time.
Jane Seymour and Christopher Reeves. It's from the 80s.
Oh,
I'm an eternal, hopeless romantic, but you should totally watch it. It's
Somewhere
so
in
cool.
Time.
Somewhere in Time.
Is it a crier?
Definitely.
Amazing. My wife will love that. We love movies that make us feel. That's great. Not that we don't. We're just like very
It's like watching The
emotional
Notebook,
people.
right? Yeah, yeah. You gotta like love. Yeah,
Yeah.
Somewhere in Time.
We love love.
Yeah,
It's
I love
fun.
love too.
Favorite. Oh my gosh, Lachlan, what are my other like 6 questions? Wait, can you put this in the outtakes? I have like 6
I love
questions
it.
that I do for every podcast. And I'm like, I'm thinking about the movie and I'm thinking about my wife and I sharing a bottle of wine on the couch, watching this, like cuddling up together with
Absolutely.
Sage
Oh my
and
gosh.
our puppy.
You have to tell me what you think of the movie too.
Okay, I will.
It's amazing.
Favorite place you've traveled?
Paris.
Why?
It's where my heart is.
So you're going to move there potentially at some point in the
At
future?
some point.
Maybe take Clementines with you?
You never know.
Make it global?
Maybe.
All right, cool. Really cool.
It's the most romantic city in the world.
Who's someone that's really influential to you in your life right now that you think we should have on the podcast? Who has an interesting story as an entrepreneur or a change agent that you think our audience could benefit from hearing their story?
Sharon John is amazing. She's the CEO of Build-A-Bear right now. She's hugely influential on me.
You know who's coming on well, I'm putting this out there right now. My dad's mentor, Maxine Clark.
Maxine's one of
Former-
my mentors as
Oh,
well.
no kidding.
Yep. But Sharon's awesome.
I need to get Maxine on the podcast too. Sharon, okay, awesome.
I think Jillian Tedesco from Fit Flavors is amazing.
I was there earlier. I love Jillian.
She's awesome. She's
her product
badass.
is awesome.
Yeah. I think Chelsea Theodoropoulos from Burn Boot Camp. She's inspiring for sure. I think Leslie Gill from Rung for Women is amazing. I mean, these are kind of people in my world now that are influential on me, who are just incredible.
Tamara, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Sharing your story on the Impact Roadmap podcast.
Thank you.
And, this story is all about providing a platform to entrepreneurs that are genuinely making an impact and leaving the planet better than they found it. So thank you for everything that you do to contribute to this community and to society at large. It's really inspirational and keeps us going here.
Thank you so much.
Hey, if this episode was valuable to you, then share it with someone that you love, someone that you know that could benefit from it. Also, be sure to subscribe, and depending on how you're listening, go ahead and leave a comment or review. This will help ensure that we are connecting with other nonprofit leaders so that we can get this critical information out to them. And if your company is in the early or even late stages of putting on an event, go to our website, utopiaexperience.com, and click the Book Us tab and schedule a free discovery call to see if our services would be a right fit for your event. And even if they're not, that's okay. I promise you our expertise can steer you in the right direction, so you'll get value either way. Thanks for listening to the Impact Roadmap, and we'll see you next time.